We're finally diving headfirst into The Boys, the only superhero show where the good guys say fuck more than Deadpool and a coke bender. And the bad guys, they explode people with their minds, or their dicks, sometimes both. This show takes wholesome crap that we grew up with, truth, justice, and hope, and sets it on fire while jerking off to a Vought commercial. The Seven, they're not a superhero team, they're a corporate gangbang in capes, starring a sociopath with laser eyes and the emotional stability of a toddler with a god complex. Homelander has laser eyes, super strength, and the emotional depth of a used tissue. But don't worry, there's hope. And by hope, I mean a gang of broken, angry psychos duct taped together by trauma, bad decisions, and enough sarcasm to make Batman need therapy. And I'm talking the kind that keeps therapists employed for life. This show isn't just sick, it's getting a shower and scrub with steel wool sick. It's blood-soaked, trauma-filled, and genital exploding. Welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse. Oi, let's get diabolical.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey, welcome to another episode. If you thought that intro was shocking, this whole episode I think is going to be shocking. But welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse. I am Mr. Grumpy Beard. With me as always is Captain Stash.
What's up, y'all? Yes, no. So what's funny is that Matt and I, we've actually talked about doing this episode a long time ago, and this is actually before we decided to go explicit. And we were like, man, I said, if we got to change our style or rating or something, because we couldn't have done this if we were doing like clean wise. There's no way this episode could have ever
We
aired.
still debated whether we should do this.
And we were like, because this is a TV show that, you really don't understand unless you actually watch this shit like firsthand. And again, what I'm about to say is both Matt and I, he got me into the show at first, and I was kind of like, I saw it a while back and I was like, I don't know if I really like it, but he's like, hey, you should watch it, and I really started watching it and started doing it more.
I mean, we're going to talk about
my
but
point
there's a particular scene that got you into watching this show.
Yeah, it's true, because like he showed me and I was like, oh damn, like, and I was like, okay, and then I started watching it more and I was like, okay, I haven't watched the new.
I just got to say, you just got to be careful where you sneeze.
Yes. And depending on who's your superpower. But anyway, hey, what do you know? Next week, that's what we'll be talking about anyways. No, it's crazy to me because, like, you get a show like this that's raw and, like, really, like, like your stereotypical, like, oh, it's good guys, you got your bad guys, you got this and that. But you never think to yourself, like, what if we take a really good show, we're going to say, hey, we're going to have, like, these, like, the superhero league, right, in a sense, and then be like, hey, you know what, why don't we all make them fucked up? They're out of their fucking minds. They kill fucking people for a living. All this other stupid shit in between. And then you get these renegades, or these like rebels that are like going against this corporation of superheroes. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And you don't understand it until you really start to dive into it, because
and you don't really know, like, is there a good guy? Like,
there is no good guys. There are no good guys. This is all bad.
Is there a good guy
This
in the
is
show?
an anti-hero show. This is an anti-hero show, plain and simple. Like, there are straight up basically what you would think is a good guy who basically is a villain. And then there's like the anti-hero. Like, you're basically, like when he was just saying about Deadpool, I'm like, it's that, but like, I would say more extreme. Like, there's a lot more to it.
Yes.
But anyways, no, like, looking at this show, anyways, like, we were talking about this a long time ago. We were both like, do we do this? Is it going to be worth it? And I think, once we looked at it more, and then, or like we were looking at our explicit ratings and stuff, and I'm like, fuck it. What are we hiding from? I'm like, this show's on television, for God's sakes. Why not talk about it? Because we just talked about Invincible. I mean, granted, it's not as bad, but it's
not as bad. But
it's still in that same realm of.
The Boys is a really good show, and not for anything. I mean, Eric Kripke for doing Supernatural. I mean, he's
he's a genius, man.
He does, granted, he hasn't done a lot of other, really good shows other than Supernatural, but The Boys is a really good show, and it really shows like the, satirical side of, that kind of superhero drama, which is exactly, what The Boys is.
Right.
It's really that, satirical superhero-esque kind of idea. But it is based off the comic book with the same name, and that was by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson.
Now, what I was going to say before was I haven't technically watched the current season 4 because I watched the first 3, of course, and then I was waiting for season 4 to finally come out, and then it was like almost weird because it was almost like it looked like the episodes were there, but then it was like it was kind of weird. It didn't make any sense to me because I was like going to watch it, and then it was like, oh, it looked like there was a bunch of ads and other weird shit like trailers for it, and I'm like, so is it here or is it not here yet? And so I was just like,
That's
wait.
the way. I mean, that's the way they kind of show the episode descriptions. They're kind of like almost like advertisements.
Well, for the newest season, yes.
Yes.
The other 3 are regularly fine, no problem. But the 4, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on with this shit? And like I said, I haven't watched the new one yet. I will plan on watching it here shortly because I'm really interested in, especially with like Soldier Boy, like the new guy who's actually in the corporation of teams and stuff. But before I feel like we go any further, real quick, both Matt and I, we're really appreciative of this kind of opportunity, but we're definitely, I'm just gonna say we're reaching out to people real quick, like we're trying to collab, we're trying to re-innovate ourselves a little bit. So we recently, instead of doing Spotify for podcasts, we're doing Red Circle right now. We're trying that out, seeing how that works. I know Matt's been doing a great job with posting, like different content and different things like that, trying to promote ourselves. I mean, I've been trying to go on podcasters for Facebook and all this stuff and, trying to reach out to people. And I know he's reached out to people. I've reached out, we're trying to basically kind of grow more. And I know it's kind of random me saying this, but it's just like, I give credit a lot to Matt, and I know that we, I think over this time period that we've been doing this, we joke that we're 2 dudes on a mic or 2 separate mics. My bad, not on one mic here. That's just weird.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
But we're trying, and we're trying to really grow this because, again, when you do the fist bump, follow, interact, subscribe, tell your friends, that kind of stuff. That's what we're doing, right? I mean, we're now trying to brand ourselves more, right? And I we've been seeing more like people trying to like reach out to us and try to do other things, and I think that's great. I was like, at this point, we're just trying to become something bigger.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be this small.
And we completely revamped the website. So we're making moves. We're trying to do new things, but
we're getting there, and it's
we're
slow.
getting there.
But I just, before I wanted to go any further, I feel like that was important. And actually, I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't want to mention something else, Matt, like a new book or something like that. Just throwing it out there.
I mean, there have been posts going out, I think, all week so far. But yes, I did publish the second book, which is Amulet Keeper's Shadows of War.
Yes.
So that's out now. You can get it the same places where the other book is published. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble. The link is pretty much the same as the other one. It's just instead of the end part being GFTM 23, it's GFTM 25. So it's bookstoread.com/GFTM 25. And that will bring you to Amazon. So bring it to like all the other links where the book is, being sold. But the best place for as far as like print and ebook is probably Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I think those are probably the best 2 places.
I'm actually curious though. Why don't you keep the 23?
Because that's linked to the other book.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So they're 2 separate links. So it's the first book has the 23 link already.
Okay.
So it links to those links for the first book, and then the second book is a different link.
No, I mean that's fine. I know that we've used that GFTM 23 as like our handle for a long time now. So we have.
You could just go to the merch page, and both
or
books
that too.
are
Yeah.
both books are linked to the Amazon page from there. So you can just go to that page and find the links there. So
look, I just wanted to promote Matt here. Okay, like I said, I know he doesn't want. He's like, shut up, man. Just do your thing.
I appreciate it. I'm
trying to promote the stuff here. Because again, we do a podcast, but I mean, he's doing a lot of other shit on the side that I'm like, again, if I had some of that creative genius, I would do the same thing too. But dude, I'm just like you say in the website. I'm just this wild card, explosive character that just comes in and let's fuck shit up, or let's talk about stupid shit. And you're like the episode 12 fart, sound that randomly happens. I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck it, whatever. I don't know whatever episode that was, but no, I mean,
definitely wasn't 12. It probably was like 87 or
yeah, it was probably early on. If I had to take a guess, but anyways, yeah, let's try
so
that.
The Boys. Currently, there's 4 seasons. There's a 5th and final season coming. I think it's like next year. But right now there are 4 seasons. It does follow a team of vigilantes. They're known as the Boys in the comic book, also in the show. I don't know if they really call themselves the Boys though in the show. But they are a team of vigilantes. They combat superpowered individuals. They're referred to in the show as soups, who basically very basically abuse their powers for personal gain, and they work for a very powerful company named Vought. Vought International, and they basically ensure that the general public views them as superheroes. So basically, their general corporation sells them. Basically, is what they're doing. Like they're
selling them for services is really the biggest.
They're doing advertisements. They're putting them in movies. They're selling them for products. They're doing commercials. They're doing everything that they can. But they're also what they show in the show is all of the heroic things that they do is staged for the public.
Right.
So when there's a bank robbery, the bank robbery is a staged robbery. They're really shooting guns and they're really killing people, but Vought had set it up
right ahead of time,
so that basically they would just go in there and be the superheroes and stop said crime.
Well, the funny thing is, it reminds me of like if you took like, I'd say a really fucked up Disney, like in the sense of a mogul sense, and then it kind of, and I don't know if you remember this show is, oh my God, now I'm trying to, it's the, help me out here, Seth MacFarlane. They did a show. It was kind of like Star Trek, but not really. Oh, the Orville. Sorry.
Yes.
There was that one planet that they were on that it was like based on views. Like, it was like, your rating depended on like certain things, but like it's weird because
Black Mirror did an episode that was like that too, where you had a social rating.
Right, and that's kind of what this would be in a sense.
Basically like if you did something wrong or like you looked at somebody the wrong way or you said like, ugh, you wearing that? Like you're, they would
rating
all
would go all down. Yeah.
They would go on their phone and like, 1 star your response and like your rating would go way down. And your rating basically was like when you went to go get a coffee.
Yeah.
And you were under like 3 stars. Basically,
they wouldn't give it to you.
I'm sorry, we can't sell the 2 stars. And you're
and
this is bullshit, motherfucker.
And that was kind of like it's kind of like that too, because like when you're looking at this, it's like they're being staged, they're getting promotions, they're doing all this. I mean, they're selling them as like a service, to whoever they want, because then at like some point, I think they were like, it was like a war, like traders, like so it was kind of like weird. I remember it was like they would sell them to like overseas stuff, and that was the issue. Is like I remember, well, I'm not gonna go too far, but let's just say, what's his name?
Well, in the very first season, they were trying to get them into the military, but they weren't.
Well, no, yeah, but I was gonna say, that's what it was. It was Homelander when that fucking flight, when he's like flying, and then he's like, oh, you gotta save us, He's like, flips him off, and he says, fuck you, and then all of a sudden you just see him.
Well, Queen, shit out of them. Queen Maeve was really, because I was just rewatching it, and Queen Maeve was really like, we have to help them,
right?
And he's like,
nah,
I'm Homelander, not Planelander. Like, he's like, what do you want me to do? Like, there's no land for me to lift this plane up. Like,
yeah, and he basically tells him to fuck off. Like, he's like, I'm not doing this shit.
Like, we need to cut our losses. These people are dead.
No, and that's the truth. I mean, that's what he does, and he literally
But he didn't like. He honestly didn't care. Like he was like,
right. It's pretty fucked up.
It was initially like when he saw, she wanted to just kind of get the terrorist guy that was in the cockpit out.
Right.
And Homelander just waltzed in there and lasered the whole freaking cockpit.
Right.
and blew out all of the instruments and everything. And it was like,
right. And they had to cover that shit up. I mean, or he had to try to cover it up as best as he fucking could because,
which is why, I mean, you find this out much later in the show.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's actually like a season or two later that you find it out. But like, yeah, he destroyed the fucking plane. That's what he did.
And they're trying to expose that at some point. But yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, he basically just turns it around. But yeah, that's why, you know, in that very, very opening, like, he's a sociopath. Like he's
fucked up.
He's messed up.
Like,
and
no, he's not messed up. He's fucked up. There's a big difference.
This
there.
show is one. I mean, I'm a big fan. I love the show, but it's one of those shows too. Like when you go to watch the show, okay,
oh boy,
you have to ask yourself a few questions.
Can I watch this with my family?
It's am I alone?
Yes, there you go.
And while I'm watching it, you have to think to yourself, should I really be watching this?
Again, and then if somebody walks in, how do you explain what the fuck is going on?
Right. Because there's certain scenes when, you know, some superheroes in the show, I'll say soups because they're not really heroes. I'll say soups because that seems like a better thing. Some soups are stretchy. I'll just leave it at that. They're stretchy.
Yeah.
And there are certain scenes when, you know, your family might walk in. Okay, I'm gonna set the scene.
I know exactly where you're going with this too.
You're watching this show. Okay, the scene breaks into a bathroom.
Oh God, oh God.
There's a naked guy. Okay, one of the boys are in the bathroom and they're fighting this guy, and all of a sudden your family, your wife, your young daughter, maybe a young son walks in and they're like, "Hey, Daddy, how you doing?" You don't turn the show off, and all of a sudden, this guy's penis grows and starts choking this guy out, and your family goes, "What the fuck are you watching?" And now this character is not only fighting this guy, but he's trying to pry off a penis that is in full view.
Oh yeah,
they're not hiding it. You can see the head, the shaft. It's long and stretchy. It's crazy.
And the guy's like, what's around my neck?" He doesn't realize it was a giant penis. But
and the thing doesn't just like come and like wrap around the neck. No, it crawls up the back.
Yeah. But
it's like they show the whole thing. Like it crawls up the back and then wraps around very, very slowly. And you're like,
oh no, you know what's, hold on, what's even worse?
That's where you ask yourself,
no, true.
Should I be watching this or should I just fast forward this little part of the scene?
This is the weird part. This is the weird part of the whole thing is the dude that is doing this with his penis is literally knocked out. He's on the ground, knocked out, and his fucking penis is growing and doing this. And you're like, how the fuck are you doing this already unconscious? Like, is your body just like, we're just going to let's just do it unconsciously. Dude's literally passed out. And again, you ask yourself, how, like, are you alone? Is this worth my time? Are you sure you want to continue watching this?
Yeah.
You know, and
I mean, it's as good as the show I think it has been. It's beyond anything I think anybody has ever seen on TV or streaming, I think, ever. Well, I don't think I've ever seen anything.
Well, right. I was going to say, you know, you and I joke about Rick and Morty a lot, but that's more animated stuff in that regard. But, I mean, live action, no. I can say that this is on its own planet.
You could honestly say, like, there's a line that you would say, oh, they would never go there. And then there's a show that they did Gen Z.
Yeah.
You probably haven't seen that one.
I haven't. No, I haven't yet.
Okay. There is a girl who vomits and shrinks.
Oh, lovely.
Okay. She can shrink down to a very minuscule size.
Oh, lovely.
Okay. Well, there's a scene in that show.
Oh, even better.
There's a scene in that show where she shrinks really low, really small, and she hops on a dude's dick and jacks him off.
Okay, hold on. This reminds me of a certain scene that we'll be mentioning down the road. But is it the same everything? Like similar
Not
to what it was?
inside, outside. She's on the outside, like.
Oh my God, that's fucking. That is fucking.
And they show the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
So when you're watching this show and they go, they could never possibly do that.
Think again.
Think again, because it's like every season go above and beyond. And then you're like, oh, they would never cross that line. And then
they
they
did.
do a whole episode that's just called Hero-gasm.
Yes, and there's also, I don't know the exact title for this one, but it's think about bestiality for a second. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Think about bestiality.
I'm trying not to.
But let's just say when you see it, you're like, this can't be real. And like, oh yeah, he's full on doing it. But again, I'm not going to explain it because if you want to watch it, you're going to find out.
We're going to go into these couple scenes here because I first, before we get into penis sneeze.
Oh, that's probably the best one.
I'm going to first mention Butcher and the baby, because that one is kind of, I mean, it's not gross and it's not weird, but I mean, it is weird because Butcher, like literally in the first season, they find out like Vought is using Compound V, which is, it's a basically for soups. It's like a drug, but it makes soups who they are, and they find out that Vought is sending this Compound V to NICUs all around the United States and the world, and they're injecting babies, making soups.
Right, and so like you find out later on too about Homelander being one of the experiments that he was a part of as well.
But in this particular scene, they come across one that's currently being injected with Compound V via IV bag.
Oh yeah,
and this one has blue lasers shooting out its eyes. So when they're trying to get like they're trying to just get a sample of Compound V because they got intel that the particular NICU just got a delivery.
Right.
So, in comes Vought's like security people to try to stop them. He grabs the baby.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yep,
and he's like literally using the baby as like a laser gun.
Yeah, and he's like holding him and just
he's like
spreading it across.
Oh, it's so freaking diabolical. Like it's so bad. It's like he's like looking at me. People's heads are like just exploding off. It's so.
Oh, it's. I mean, but that's so the thing. I mean, like when you think of the goriness, right? So like, it's like when we look at like Mortal Kombat, how being like that was so gory. Like, I think Mortal Kombat is not even close to what you fucking see on The Boys in the sense of that. I mean, it's just crazy to see all that shit in real life.
No, and this is like right in the first episode. The very first episode,
first scene, I would say the first few minutes. We meet,
Huey. He's working in some Radio Shack tech store.
Yeah, probably back in the day. Yeah.
And we kind of like meet him, and we meet his girlfriend Robin.
Which is like brief for
very
brief, very brief,
very brief, and they're in love, and they're long story short, basically like he's trying to get like a raise in his job, and she's in school, and she comes and meets him, and they start walking down the sidewalk, right, and then basically they're talking, and he's like, I'm gonna ask him tomorrow, and they're starting to do their thing, and
she steps back.
She barely steps off of the sidewalk.
Yep.
And she's like, they're doing their talking thing, and he's just holding her hands, and they're kissing a little bit, and then the scene just almost slows to a stop.
Right.
She disappears,
and all of a sudden he sees.
then you see little droplets of blood. Land on his cheek.
Yep.
And then the camera pans out. I kid you not. You see A-Train standing in the background
saying, "Oh shit."
He's blurry because what the focus is on is Huey's face in slow motion, and then in front of him is just a pool of blood in the air.
Yeah.
Some random guts, a bone, another bone.
And the worst part is that Huey is holding on to her fucking hands, and that's all he fucking sees. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he looks at A-Train, and A-Train literally goes, oh shit, and then starts proceeding to run off.
And then it goes into like the normal speed, and then everything just goes splat right on the ground, and then he just goes, oh shit, and then
Right,
speeds off, and then Huey's just like,
oh yeah, and then doesn't he scream at one point,
Yeah.
like right at the end, and he's like,
Yeah.
ah, and you're like, okay, and this is the first, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes of this
Yeah.
show already.
And this, I mean, this scene and what happens to Robin, it basically sets off the whole show. I mean, it
Oh.
sets off the whole series.
And then
because
because the thing was is Huey, he's like, hey,
this is what gets Butcher onto basically
Well,
I mean, he was already on Homelander and doing that stuff, but
right, but the thing with Huey though is like, he was like, I'm gonna go and sue these guys, for her sake and whatnot. And I know his dad was like, no, you shouldn't do that, blah blah blah. And he got into a tiff with him, and then basically his dad was like, no, we don't do that. We're, we just been never known to do that. And he actually steps up to his father and says, I'm fucking doing it. And like he gets angry and and he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm a coward. His dad basically admits that to him. And he's like, man, I've been a coward this entire time. Do what you want. And he goes and he talks to the fucking agent of A-Train or whatever. And he's like, hey, I'm trying to make a settlement. And they're like, here, why don't we, we'll give you this much.
You
And
have
then
to
you can
sign
just,
an NDA,
right, and you got to do all that
he's
shit.
like, no, I'm not doing that, and that's where he gets involved with the boys and
Right. And it starts just
Butcher and-
proceeding to
Yeah.
all this shit. And so,
And
No.
he ends up killing Translucent and all that stuff. But let's get to the penis sneeze because
God.
there's a character in this scene. They're at a party. They're going for intel.
well, this one I thought, wasn't it like the Herogasm? Wasn't it this particular scene was like in the very first few like minutes of the actual episode? I thought that scene was in the beginning.
Was penis sneeze that Herogasm?
I thought it was. Or was that?
I forget. I mean, I haven't seen this scene in a long time, but
Well, I think it might be because I mean, it has been a while, but I thought it was, but it may be something different. But no, I mean, like literally. Well, actually, no, it wasn't. No, because I think it was separate because they were alone. Those two individuals that were.
yeah, no, they were alone, and I think they went to talk to, I think, Termite. It was either Termite or the other dude that they were trying to talk to for information.
Yeah. Anyway.
And so Termite is a soup. I don't know if the other guy was a soup or not. I don't believe he was.
No, he probably wasn't.
But Termite was a guy who obviously could shrink down. Due to his name, obviously, you could tell that.
And hold on, before you get any further, this is why I said when he was mentioning the whole Gen V thing or Gen Z thing, this is why I mentioned this particular part, so you'll understand why in a second.
But this was different because he wasn't just on the outside.
oh no,
He was shrinking so small,
he went
and he went inside the dick hole.
little urethra basically is where he went.
And what he was doing was basically like touching the inside walls.
Yeah, it was fucking weird because all of a sudden you hear him go, "Oh, you like that, don't you?" He's like, "Oh yeah," and you hear all
Then,
this.
like when he came out, like I don't know what the exact situation was, but that like when he came out, and I think he was talking to he was talking to them.
Yeah,
and then he sneezed.
this was Termite though.
Outside, like he was outside and he sneezed, and then the guy was like, "Dude, are you okay? Like, don't do that while you're doing your thing in there." He's like, "No, I'm good.
Should be fine.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm good." So he shrunk down and went back inside, and like, yes, they show everything. Like they show the penis, they show him walking, like the little dude walking inside, like
doing his thing.
they show the whole thing, everything, walking inside. And then he's starting to touch the walls, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, that feels so good, like
man."
it's so good." Like, and then he starts like, inside, and as a viewer, you're like,
Oh, don't do that shit. Don't do it.
Oh,
Don't do it.
because you know exactly where this is. Like, you've already seen 3 seasons of this show, so you know exactly like this dude is going to freaking explode.
Yeah.
And then what happens? He freaking
He sneezes.
the whole
the
freaking
fuck.
top half of him explodes, and it's freaking brutal.
Well-
and you're watching the show, and you're like,
Well, you start to watch this dude that basically shrinks. It's like taking Ant-Man in that sense and like shrinking him down and doing whatever. And all of a sudden you just see him, you sneeze, and then he like grows back into his original size, and you're just like, what the fuck did I just fucking
Yes.
watch? And how the fuck is this even happening right now? And you're already
it's
seeing like
so
half the
bad.
body gone, like he's saying, and like basically the bottom half is still there, ironically. But like,
And I think most of the boys' characters were all the same. Like,
I don't, man. I'm
it's so
telling you,
bad.
it's
It's really brutal and
pretty
it's so
fucking bad.
bad. Like it's so nasty. It's so bad. And then it's season 3, episode 6. If you want to go watch it, go watch it. But I really warn you, Herogasm is not. It's not a pleasant episode at all. If you want plenty of like sex and
Oh yeah,
and
I mean,
and I'm talking gross. I'm not even talking good. I'm
Oh,
talking gross.
yeah.
I'm talking like that. One of the characters in the show, his name is Mother's Milk. Like that's his actual name in the show.
Oh yeah. He's the black
the,
dude.
the black dude.
Yep. Which I still
goes to-
understand that shit.
He goes to leave, and literally from head to toe gets covered in jizz.
I gotta clearly rewatch that.
It
I don't
is like
remember
one
that
of the
particular
most
one.
nastiest. Like he opens the door and it's like, it's like oh,
I don't remember that one. I should have.
It's
I
so
should clearly rewatch
dude,
it.
it's so graphic and
Oh.
lewd, and it's like. But the thing is, with the episode, it's meant to be like a complete contrast to what the Soups do in their public lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie though. Homelander, he's a weird fucking individual with his fetishes that he has and shit that he, is like
Yeah.
wanting to have, and like, I mean, it's pretty sad when.
So this one, the whole
it's fucked
Herogasm
up.
thing is like, it's actually in the comic books. I don't know. I don't know if they actually did it, like talked about it in the show, but in the comics, it was like it was an annual event, and it was actually Soldier Boy, who was the one who actually started this whole Herogasm soup orgy, where non-soup guests, they were typically like sex workers.
Okay. Yep.
But they had to sign NDAs to even be there. So
Okay.
if you were a non-soup, like if you didn't have powers or anything, like you weren't there. So this whole Herogasm like orgy was only for soups.
Well, then So you said it was season 3. I thought it would have been season 4.
It was season 3, episode 6, because I looked it up.
Okay.
Just for the episode. It's not like I sit there and go, Herogasm, I gotta watch it again. Like,
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm a sicko, but not that kind of a sicko.
Like I ain't doing that shit again. No.
I watched Herogasm 17 times, and I'm watching it at 18.
Hey, boy, fuck it. Why not?
No,
Now clearly I gotta
it's-
rewatch that then because I gotta remember that shit.
more power to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly, I mean, I'm gonna have to just be like,
Just make sure you
okay.
ask yourself those questions.
Do it. Am I alone?
Am I alone?
Is this worth my time right now?
Worth my time.
It's like,
If I get caught, do I have to answer 100 more questions?
And how many more times do I have to repeat myself? I don't know.
Do I have to apologize to anybody after I
Is the
get
police
caught?
nearby? Do I have to get questioned by the police at this point? I'm like, you got to start thinking to yourself, and then at one point you get so paranoid, you're like, you want to have blackout curtains at this point.
Is this even worth it right now?
It sounds like you just got to watch it on your phone and then put in the headphones in and then just like block everybody out and just be like, "Yep, I'm just watching it. Don't
Like,
don't
hey,
mind me."
What are you doing? Nothing. I'm not doing nothing.
You're not watching porn? Well, I mean, it was pretty damn close, I guess, at that point.
Well, you might as well just, yeah, I am.
I'm watching porn. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
I
yes.
am.
You caught me.
So yeah, the series focuses on 2 groups. So it's the boys. Initially, they're not CIA sponsored, but they eventually
Yes,
do get
yes,
CIA sponsored.
I think that was season 2, right? That they get
It's
sponsored.
It's towards the end of season 1, but
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
they get more of that in
Season 2 wise, yeah.
season 2 wise, yeah. And then they are obviously looking to bring down Vought and their, the corrupt Soups. And
Seven.
then the other group is the 7. They're, Vought's premier superhero team, and obviously the boys' most powerful adversaries.
Right.
The Soups work for Vought International. They're basically the powerful corporation that markets and monetizes them. They, like I said before, they use them for advertising, movies, TV shows, special events. They basically become the corporate face of Vought. So if you think like NASCAR, like how companies and corporations pay drivers and race teams to display logos and products and slogans all over the car and driver, the track, it's basically the same thing for the soups. Except like the soups aren't really the heroes. They don't really do any real
Well,
saving of people. Like,
well,
the saving is not real.
well, true, and actually, it's funny though. Even Bot is actually well aware of like not only just Homelander, but like others that because they have to like if they
No, I mean
like
they do it.
what I mean is like killing people like because they legit know that they're sometimes they kill people and they have to like literally
No, they
almost
like,
cover that shit up.
They have like a whole PR marketing team. So like they'll write a book about Homelander,
Right.
and it's their marketing PR team that'll
that's
write the
writing,
book, and
yeah.
it's not like 100%, like 95% of it might be like real information, but like the rest of it,
It's bullshit. I mean,
the rest of it's just bullshit, so they can sell it to the American public, and the American public are reading it and going, "Wow, Homelander is such an American."
and you're like, no, he the fuck
No,
ain't.
he isn't.
He's the opposite, but
Yeah.
by all means.
So yeah, outside their heroic, personas that they portray to the public, they're very corrupt, self-serving. They recklessly cause collateral damage. I mean, if you look at most of the characters, like and we're gonna get to them in a minute, but they're they're pretty bad. And
Oh yeah.
there's actually some posts that'll be going out if you look at them on Facebook. Like
Oh, I've already seen a couple, but yeah.
there's actually one going out on Twitter. I don't know what day.
Oh,
but
Twitter. Oh,
there-
great.
There is one going out on Twitter that I was like, there is a reason why they call them the Seven, and I was like, wow, holy shit, like, because I look at like being a Christian, and I don't we don't say it on the show a lot, but
No, we don't.
being a Christian and them calling them the Seven, I look at it being like almost like the seven deadly sins. Like you look at
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
you look at like Homelander being like pride.
Oh yeah.
Some of them being like
Lust.
gluttony, greed, which is A Train,
Well, I think who's
lust, which is the deep.
well. Oh yeah, he definitely the deep on that one.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of like look at the seven, and I look at those seven deadly sins, and I can be like, okay, but it's the same for the boys too. I mean,
Oh no, I mean, well, they don't have 7 people on their team. I thought it was like
it's not really seven, but like you can kind of look the same. I mean, you look at Butcher. I mean, his sin is like wrath.
yeah, that's true.
I don't really know about Huey, but
What about was it no? What did we say? It was Milkman or Milk
Mother's Milk.
Mother's Milk. I don't know really what the fuck unless this is greed. I don't really know what he would.
Yeah, I mean, he seems more down to earth to me, but
Yeah, like I said, he's actually the more logical one, which is actually surprising when you look at the show because like every one of those characters, I mean, they're like hitmen, they're assassins, they're this and that, and I'm like, this dude's like just a regular guy. He's just a part of basically Butcher's crew at one point, but like, he's actually, and it's crazy. Besides Huey, like he is probably the more sane, logical one. Which it's again, when you have a show like that, and you're like, wait a minute, you actually have sane, logical people on the show. Why aren't they all fucked up?
yeah.
Nope, you had to have a couple that were literally the ones that were hopefully the moral compass here. But
So yeah, we'll get into the seven. Obviously, first we're going to talk about Homelander. He's actually one of the playable characters on Call of Duty. I don't know if you can still purchase him though, but he actually was. I don't
Well,
know.
no, so,
Maybe
like,
one of
this
the
was-
older Call of Duties.
yeah, I think it was in. I want to say it was 3. Modern Warfare 3 or 2. I don't know. It was one of the two. But yeah, I mean him and so there's 3. I'll just mention them real quick. It's like you got Homelander, Black Noir, and then it was.
Well, there's more. I mean, there's 7 in the 7.
No, I know, but there was only 3 that were actually playable, which I'm actually not seeing.
Well, because she became part of the boys later on, but it would have been Starlight.
Yes, Starlight. There we go. Sorry, I was just trying to figure out where she was, but yes, she's another one that was also playable. But yeah, like Homelander though. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
I mean,
the leader. He's extremely powerful. Again, he has his flight. He has his heat vision. Superhuman strength. Beneath his public image as a noble hero, he's egotistical and megalomaniacal or maniacal, whatever. You know what I mean? He's a fucked up individual, okay? And then he cares little about the well-being of those he professes that he wants to protect. Literally, when you see him in the show, right? Because I know Mac's going to agree with me here, is that something's fucked up. But once you saw him on the plane, and then once you see like little events here and there, you know, I mean, pretty much it's like he'll do an interview and then like right after he's like, fuck this shit. He's like, fuck you, fuck them. Give me a fucking coffee. Like he's a prick. Like he's a legit, this is not a guy you want to be following for sure.
He's I mean, he's your basic sociopath. I mean, he cares little about people in general. He cares about himself. And that's pretty much it. Like he doesn't care about saving people.
He doesn't even care about humanity. That's the thing.
He cares about, well, I think he does
to a degree.
He cares about his public image, and he cares about Vought. I mean, not really cares about Vought, but he cares about like the Seven, and he cares about like his status as Homelander.
Right, but in some ways, like he doesn't really care about what happens to humanity in a sense.
He doesn't care about like saving people, and it's clear, like, if he, you know, when he goes to save people, like, Maeve will actually try to save people. Like, she'll try to save, like, at least the criminals, if she can.
He doesn't give a shit whether you're a criminal or not.
Homelander will just go in there and laser the fuck out of everybody, and it doesn't care. He doesn't care if, like, there's collateral damage with the hostages or anything. Like, he'll just laser the shit out of, like,
well, I guess we're done here.
Like, whatever, we're done. You took your time, so whatever. But that's Homelander in general. Like he just doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't care about flying fucks in that department.
You know, he's also like the same character that, you know, when you meet, like, not the person who's in charge of Vought, and I forget her name.
I forgot her name too.
But
sorry,
you know, she has a child, and there's particular scenes where she breastfeeds him.
Oh, yeah, well, that's what I was talking about with the fetishes and
yeah. So, you know, there's particular scenes where she's basically acting like his mother, and he just feeds right into it.
Right.
And that's kind of like his thing until it's basically not.
Right. You know? Well, with her, but then like he transfers over to somebody else for whatever reason, and we find out she's she's royally fucked up in a lot of different ways. But,
right.
You know, like, so like the next guy, Mr. Black Noir, you know, like he's depicted as a silent ninja type parody of Batman.
There were actually two in the show.
Was there two? I thought there was only one.
No, there were two, because the original one that was in the first couple died.
Oh.
The first one was the one that was like seeing the cartoon animals, and he was the one that never talked.
Right.
But I don't think, you know, in the first season so far, like he hasn't really seen any, you know, cartoon. But I think like at one point, like he either gets like stabbed in the head, or like he gets like something in his head or something. Right, yeah. And then like he starts seeing like the cartoon like characters or the animals, and they're like, come on, we gotta go. Like, you know, and like, you know, that, but that's where, you know, in Call of Duty, like when you're shooting people, like they turn into like the weird cartoon things.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I had no idea.
When you're shooting them, like, but yeah, he starts seeing those, but like, at some point he dies, and then they replace Black Noir with somebody else, and then he's like walking around, and he's actually talking. Like,
see, that's weird though.
He's actually like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Like, you know,
and you're like, wait a minute, like, weren't you supposed to not talk to me right now?
But like this is where in the show he's like kind of a, you know, brain damaged African American, you know, character, which you don't know because he's covered, you know. But Black Noir is like a silent ninja. He's kind of a parody of Batman, Snake Eyes, and Destro, kind of in one.
Right.
In the comics, he was way different. See, in the comics, he was created as a contingency plan by Vought to be able to kill Homelander, because he was a clone of Homelander.
Oh, interesting.
So in the comics, he was actually a clone of Homelander.
Oh shit.
So the TV show just didn't choose to adapt that version because they wanted Homelander to be kind of his own character. So that was kind of an interesting.
So like the next one, Queen Maeve, you know, like we were talking about a little bit ago, like she's basically the moral compass of the group. She's the one that basically tries to, you know, still the whole like good compass.
If I had to like compare her to anybody, I would say probably closer to like Wonder Woman, just like without like the rope and the
whip and
the gauntlets and stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say she's close to that. I mean, she's one of the basically veteran members of the Seven. She has superhuman strength, reflexes, and durability, and once desiring to protect innocent lives, she has become disillusioned and suffers from burnout.
But I think, like,
You know,
very early on when she joined the Seven, she would have been just the same as Homelander. But I think as time went on, like, she really wanted to protect lives.
right, and
And
it was like she was second in command with Homelander in that sense, but at the same time, it's like again, that's why I'm talking about the moral compass thing.
you can see as like that first season progresses, like she just is like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't really care about what we're doing anymore. And
Right.
she sees, like, I think she sees Homelander for what he is. And
Well, he's a
yeah,
bully. I mean,
she's definitely like after that plane,
yeah, like
that flight 37, like she definitely suffers from burnout and just wants to like leave.
well, she wants to leave, but the thing is like Homelander is like threatening her at the same time and saying, if you fucking leave, I'm gonna fucking kill you, blah 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 blah. And like I know at some point, I think she actually records him saying certain things like that, and like she like sends it out to the social media, platforms, things like that, and like I guess if I'm not mistaken, I think like his image is like semi tarnished. She's like, oh, that's not really what I said, and like he's trying to cover that shit up too, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. And so like, moving on to the, kind of like the next one here, we got Sister Sage, right? So misanthropic soup, with greatly enhanced
I
intelligence.
think she was, I think, in season 4.
Oh, was it season? Okay, so this one I actually don't know a whole lot about, but like,
Yeah, she was enhanced intelligence. So she was like kind of this, like, she was the smartest person on the planet, like, in quotes. Like, so she could know pretty much like anything. That was like her superpower. So she could
okay.
like,
So like if like let's say, I don't know, let's say she's like, I don't know how to cook. Okay, I'm gonna learn that in like let's say 30 minutes. I'd be
Right.
like, cool, I
Yeah.
know everything about cooking now.
so she's recruited by Homelander. She replaces Ashley as CEO of Vought International. So that, that's basically Sister Sage. Like, any plan that she, basically puts together, like, is one of those plans that like comes to fruition because like of her enhanced intelligence. Like, she's just
Well, first off, I mean, being recruited by Homelander, he basically just has a pawn in his pocket. Like he's already ready to fucking like, you know what
well,
I
I
mean?
think
Like, he's already there.
At that point, Homelander basically is running Vought. Like, Ashley is not really doing like much of anything at that point. Like,
It's more of a public
she's-
figure. I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah, she's not really doing anything. Like, Homelander is pretty much like running the show.
Well, I mean, it's going to sound weird that I'm going to say it like this, but it's like the English government, like in Britain, right? So, like, even though the Queen, or I'm sorry, now the King, but let's say the Queen at the time, she didn't have power. It was actually the Prime Minister who had all the fucking control. It was just that was the public figure. That's exactly what Ashley is
Right.
doing.
I mean, it's not like Ashley doesn't have power, so it's not like she's
That's
gonna
what I
be
mean,
like,
though.
hey, we're doing this.
Well, that's what I mean. Like
know.
I said, the Queen didn't have really any power. She was there. She might have maybe said, oh, "Okay, I'll do some royal decrees, or whatever." But really, it was the Prime Minister that had to, do that shit. So, like, literally, that's what
At
he is.
least the other CEO that was there. And like I said, I don't remember what her name was, the blonde haired lady.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But she actually had some pull because she was like, listen, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do,
You're not
like,
getting.
either with the speeches or like doing, going out and doing this public promotion or whatever, you're not getting any more of this
No.
milk.
So
Like-
this is what I was about to say. I was about to say something. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, you ain't getting them titties, boy. You ain't getting them goddamn milk titties and jugs and shit. Like, you ain't getting none of that.
and that was like, for Homelander, that was like, all right.
He's like, shit, I guess I got to do it now.
There was a whole scene in the first season where she basically did that. She was like,
Do you want the milk?
you need to go out there and talk about that whole thing that we put together about your mom.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not doing that.
Well, I guess you ain't
Like,
getting them titties, man.
And she's like, if you don't do that, I can't keep doing what we've been doing.
Right.
And the very next scene, he was like, Let me tell you a little bit about my mom.
That's why I said you ain't getting them titties, boy. You ain't getting that milk there.
So yeah, he just went out there and like started like blabbing about this fake story about how his mom brought him to like little league games and like it was like
Which a
that's
bunch of
fucking
full
bullshit.
shit, yeah.
Like
That's fucking bullshit.
you were brought up in a lab, you dumb shit.
Yeah,
Like,
you just don't know it yet until you find out later.
well, no, he knows.
Well,
he
he knows, but like
they wrote him a script that was saying like how his mom brought him to little league games and like
all this
they
other
wrote him like
stupid
this,
shit.
Yeah,
No,
but it was just for like the press, But
well, and then
it was just like that. It was that move, but Ashley doesn't have that kind of pull. So like
Right.
he's running Vought, and it's not like basically all he has to do is like I will melt you,
if you don't
into
fucking
a
do what
puddle.
I say,
and that's it. Like, and she'd be just okay. Like,
okay, well, I guess I'll do whatever the fuck you want then. And then you look at A-Train though. I mean, this motherfucker. I mean, like I said, in the first few minutes of even the season or literally the show, you meet him real quick, and I mean, he's just kind of doing whatever. He's a little bitch. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, he
is a bitch.
from the get go. Like he was using Compound V to become like faster than anybody because
it's almost like he was taking steroids, like in the sense of that.
because I mean he was addicted to becoming fast, and he was
And doesn't it turn out like the more he was using, it was like he actually was getting slower down the road?
well because what the Compound V was doing was killing his body. Was
Right.
basically what it was doing, but
Because that was the thing though, is like I think he was like versing against like some other dude who was just like a regular guy or whatever. I think it was like a race that he was doing at
no,
one
he
point.
was facing another
Soup.
speed,
Oh, was it
another
Soup?
it was
Yeah.
another speed soup, but
Yeah, but
the other guy was faster
Right,
than
than
he
him.
was not on Compound V.
right, and that was the thing though, is like he was trying to get, like I said, it's like if you're taking fucking steroids, in this case, like he's roiding out, like because at one point he was getting pissed, like he was just like fuck this shit, and he's like trying to get more and more, and then it turns out that like we were just saying, like he takes it, he's trying to go faster than this other dude, and then long and behold, he fucking loses the race, but he starts losing his fucking mind, and he starts roiding out.
He does actually win that race, but
I thought he lost the race.
no, he won that race.
No, but he was roiding out though. I do know that it was like a basically roiding out moment that he's done a few times, and that was where like I'm saying like,
Oh no, I mean he definitely fucks his life up. I mean he ends up like killing his girlfriend, who was like a
yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
I mean she was an addict anyway, but he ends up like overdosing her on heroin.
Right.
Because Homelander finds out about his like Compound V addiction and all that other stuff.
Yeah, and I mean basically they just write him off anyway. So, I mean, there's not really much to talk about A-Train particularly. I mean, because like I mean, he's 30-year-old guy. He's African American, that kind of shit. I mean, you already kind of see him already in the beginning. But the next dude, though,
Oh, the next dude, he's
he's something else.
I mean, he's just a piece of shit. But like he's a sicko. I mean, he's like he would be like and I don't know what you would call a pedophile that fucks fish, but like I mean, not really a pedophile, but like a fishophile.
A fishophile. I mean,
I don't know, but
was it an octopus? I thought it was a dolphin.
He's a white dude with fish traits. He actually has gills, but they're like on his
body,
like right up, like right where his stomach is.
Yeah.
He's really insecure about it, so that's why like he always wears the suit, even when he has sex. Like he wears the suit.
Right, because he doesn't. Nobody wants. Like he's like, I don't want everyone to see that I have gills and shit. But yeah,
he has the ability to hear the suffering of all sentient ocean life as they are eaten by humans, and he's had since childhood. But he can like, there's scenes where he's like walking around the grocery store. Like there was one that I was watching. He was talking to like a lobster.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then he was like, hey, can I get this one? And then the dude, like, he's like, yeah, he picks it up and he like puts it on the table and he's like, no. And then the dude like stabs it right in the head. He's like, fuck.
Fuck, that's not the right one.
No, because he wanted to take the lobster live home.
Right.
But like when you buy a lobster, they.
Well, no, hold on. I mean, no, actually. So hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there. Because I worked, I'm going to say this. So yes, I worked at a grocery store a long time ago. I actually worked in the deli and seafood department. So no, they don't actually take a fucking knife and stab. I know in the show they
In
did.
the show they did.
But in real life, no. What they do is
In real life, they give it to you.
no. You have two options. The two options are yes, you can get it live, and then you're basically suffocating them anyways because you're going to be taking them out of the store without any water. Or most people would, they might pay a little extra, but they just steam the fucking lobster, call it a day, and then you bring it home, reheat it, do whatever. I'm just saying, no, we don't just fucking say, hey, fuck you, bitch, and then take a
No,
fucking...
this guy fucking stabbed it, and he was like, fuck. Because he was like, he's like, no, this is my dude right here. He's like talking to the thing but he ends up like, he ends up having like, I think he goes to like some like, Asian Chinese place. And he sees like he meets like an octopus. And he ends up like stealing, I think he steals the octopus right out of the fish tank. But he ends up like having a relationship with the octopus, like he's fucking this octopus.
See, I thought it was didn't he have a relationship with a dolphin too?
He tried to.
Or didn't he? I thought he fucked the dolphin. I thought that was
he tried to.
So it was the octopus.
He stole the dolphin.
Right, it was like at SeaWorld or something.
And then he was driving it away to return it to the ocean.
Right.
And then was talking to it like,
hey, you want to...
Like, no, that's completely inappropriate. I can't do that right now. Like, I'm trying to get you back into the ocean. He's like, fine. If I just touch it, will you just shut up until it, But he's like talking to this dolphin like it's like we can't hear what
we can't hear a word it fucking saying.
We just hear like whoop, 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 like whatever the dolphins do, and like, but like the police are chasing him now, and like the police like stop right in front of the truck that he's driving.
Right.
He slams the brakes, and then once
again,
right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
In that slow motion, he looks to his right. The dolphin is flying out the windshield.
Full on.
It goes right into the street, and then a big tractor trailer runs it over.
Nope, that's right. I forgot. Shit, I thought it was. I didn't realize it was the octopus, but no, you're right. No,
that was the dolphin. It runs it right over. So
no, like I said, so what we're talking about is a dude that literally is fucking fish. Whatever. I can't remember exactly what an octopus is. I know it's a certain name for it, but
he fucks basically anything.
Basically, yes. That's why I said about bestiality. I'm like, that's the same idea, but now we're just talking about fish form here. But and then I'm assuming Firecracker.
She's
in the newer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because that one I didn't really know. So I guess an alternate right.
So she's definitely like gung ho America. Wears like a red, white, and blue like outfit. Like
okay,
your southern southern charm, like cowboy hat. Redneck fire. If you think of Firecrackers, redneck girl from Texas, like,
oh yeah, I mean I can see that now.
Drinks beer and
now this is the one
like your typical America redneck. There's conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. Like
yeah. No, so like the next. So this is the one that I really found interesting because like at first you don't really know a whole lot about her, but you really get to find out a lot more later on. Is Stormfront. So like she's the first successful Compound V subject. She's a member of the Seven with plasma-based abilities. And once a member of the Nazi Party, let's get this straight, the Nazi Party, she holds bigoted views towards minorities and the non-superpowered. So at one point she gets basically with Homelander much later on. That's why when the CEO thing like kind of diminishes that with Homelander, like he and her are like this like power couple. And that's what they do with the media is like they're becoming a couple. And then she gets burned the shit out of, like literally burned alive. And then you find out like she is part of the Nazi party from way back when because she was aging very slowly. Like she's actually a hell of a lot older than what she's supposed to be. And then like it was weird because like she's burnt like half a crisp and she's like, "Oh, Homelander, fuck me, make love to me." And he's like, ugh. Like he has nothing, like especially at that point, he had nothing wanting to do with her. And I was like, he's like, dude, I gotta get out of this fucking relationship. But she is like so fucking loyal at that fucking point, and it was like bad. And so like you see this dynamic, and he's just like fucking stay away from me. You're not even pretty anymore. You're not even worth my time. She's like all about him, freaks out, at one point and says, you don't love me, blah, blah, blah. Like she is fucking psychotic. I mean, she is like basically on the same level as Homelander, but like it almost seems like she was at some point worse than Homelander. And then it's just a weird fucking dynamic with those two. Like again, you'll understand once you see her and do all that, but it is a very weird dynamic to have. And then I know Matt's favorite character. This is why I'm gonna let him do this. Billy Butcher.
Oh yeah, he is one of my favorites. Oh yeah, cunt.
Oh yeah, cunt. Because it's funny because for a long time we were like,
diabolical.
No, but what's funny is like Matt and I would right before a show, or like right before a podcast, we would go, "Oh yeah, cunt," and we keep doing that all the time. And he's like, "Man, imagine if we said that in the show, and now here we are doing it now." But we were talking about this a long time ago. We were like, "Oh yeah, cunt," like, "Oh fuck you, you cunt," and everyone's like, "Man, you're saying that quite a bit." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but this is the show, and this is what."
So he's the leader of the boys. He's a former SAS operative who he basically mistrusts like all soups. He has a particular hatred for Homelander because he believes he's responsible for the disappearance of his wife, Becca. So his wife, Becca Butcher, she used to be I believe she used to do marketing for Vought, and then finds out that she spent 3 hours in a room with Homelander.
Yes.
And then immediately right after that went missing. And then in the first season, we kind of find out that she died in childbirth, giving birth to a child from Homelander.
Yes, but that was the thing that was like, yes, in the first season you see that. I think it was in the second season that you actually find out that she's still alive.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, too bad. I guess we're already telling you. But, she comes back and you're like, wait, what? And he finds it, like, Butcher finds out that this is the case. Yeah. And I believe he's trying to, like, track her down at this point. But, like, it's very hard to figure out where she was at the time. But, like, she's trying to almost escape. And Homelander's, like, keeping really a tight leash on that shit. And
yeah, well, she's trying to keep... I believe she's trying to keep her son from being like kind of found by Vought and that whole.
Well, right, because it was the founder, not the founder, the scientist that did the original experiment on Homelander was actually the one protecting Becca. I thought, right, in like the security compound, whatever place it was, and like so, if she tried to attempt to leave, they track her down, they bring her back, and they'd say, "Nope, you're not going anywhere," kind of a deal. So like.
Yeah.
I know Homelander and his son, though, it's like the fatherly love talking, like, boy, come here. Like, come here, boy.
Boy.
And he's like, listen, you do whatever the fuck you want. Like, he's like trying to tell him, like, you are a soup.
That lady's name is Madeline Stillwell, by the way.
Was it are you talking about the CEO?
The blonde, yeah.
So, like, again, like, when you watch this show, I'm telling you, like, especially, like, the Billy Butcher, Homelander thing, like, yeah, like you find out more, I think in season 2, I believe that whole dynamic piece to it. But like he has a pure hatred, and I can understand why that is the case. Because once you find out all that shit, you're like, yeah, that's motherfucking right. You know shit, he's coming after you because you stole his wife basically and actually had a kid with her, and now he's like, because I think at one point, Billy, doesn't he like talk to his wife and say, why don't you just kill the kid? Or like he's trying to convince, like, you know what I mean? Like you're trying to like convince, like, hey, come with me, leave the kid here, kind of a deal. And
yeah, I mean, he has the viewpoint of if you're a soup, like, you need to die. Like, even if you have, even if you do have a good, personality and you're not using your abilities for bad, it doesn't matter. Like, you're a soup. You need to die. Like his view is basically like you're gonna eventually use your abilities for bad. One of the funnier. I mean, there's a bunch of funny
moments with him. For sure.
Moments with him, like when he's walking around there's we have Soulfest around here. But he's walking around the Believe Expo, which is kind of like a Christian, festival that they have. But he was talking about, God, and to this guy who was like, he probably was just operating a prayer tent, but he was like, talking about God and how like, using the C word and, basically like.
Hold on a second. We're going to phrase that. We just said the word, and now you want to call it the C word?
I'm also using God in the same context.
All right. Fine.
I
got what you're saying.
I'm trying not to, cross too many lines.
Fair enough. Keep
but
going.
he was using the C word, and he was basically like, "Do you think that C word was really put on a plank?" And and this guy's like, "What? How you're using the C word to explain to explain God?" And he's like,
hell fucking yeah.
Well, yeah, he is.
He's like, I don't care. That's basically what he was saying. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so many like funny, just real funny like interactions, and it's just so crazy. But we did talk about Huey Campbell. Like I said, he's kind of like he was working in a tech store. Billy Butcher doesn't really see him kind of as like Homelander doesn't really see him much of a real man, But A-Train kills his girlfriend Robin. Whether A-Train thinks it's unintentional or intentional, I guess that could be that could be the viewer's opinion on that one. But he does kill Translucent. They actually shove a C4 detonator up his ass.
Oh yeah.
Translucent.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to drill through his skin because he has diamond skin.
Yeah, that's right.
Which makes which makes his skin translucent. And he becomes invisible, but he has diamond skin, so you can't blow him up, you can't pierce it, you can't do anything. So
I forgot. Yeah, Frenchie.
Frenchie is watching this like turtle.
I forgot about it.
Show, and he gets this idea of like,
maybe I do this.
Maybe I do this.
Let me do that.
And so he basically shocks the shit out of him and knocks him out, and then they shove this like detonator thing up his ass.
And it says, "Okay, now you want to talk?"
And so they get information from him, and then they all leave to go follow the information. And Huey's just left there, and he kind of like lets him out, and
has like a conversation with him.
Has a conversation with him, and like he starts to kind of like, okay, well, you can go, and then kind of rethinks it, and then hits the button, and then it just basically like a waterfall explosion.
That's right, of like blood. And he's like, "What the fuck again?"
And then they come back and they're like, "Oi, how the fuck are we gonna find all of the pieces?" Because the guy he turned invisible before,
right?
He was about to walk out, and like so Huey was like, "I'm just gonna hit the button," so all the pieces became invisible.
Like, right, you don't know what just went and what the fuck you're about to walk into, and you're like, I don't know what this is.
So Mother's Milk is kind of interesting because in the comic book, his name actually just wasn't Mother's Milk. That's what they called him, but like in the comic book, his name actually was Marvin T. Milk, which is interesting.
It is pretty interesting.
So he's a member of the boys. He's responsible for actually organizing and planning the operations. He was a former medic in the United States Marine Corps. He actually says this in the show. He joined the boys after Soldier Boy caused his grandfather's death, and his attorney father working himself to death, attempting to bring Vought down. Elias Leon Leacock.
That's an interesting name.
Yeah. Portrays a young MM Mother's Milk in the third season. Huh. But yeah, I think he's the more professional, more down to earth. He's if you were gonna look at somebody who was more like CIA or more like military, it's this guy.
Well, sorry, no, like for
it's
him,
certainly not Butcher.
No, it's certainly not. No, I mean like, well, it's funny like with Mother's Milk, like I said, he's kind of like, besides Huey, I would say he's the other kind of moral compass because he's the only other one that like, He's like, dude, I got a family. I got to worry about this. I got to worry about that. You know, I got shit going on, and like, you want to fuck up my life. You know, because he even says it. Like, his wife is like, so what the fuck are we gonna do? You know, and they're like, it's like again, it's like a marriage. It's like a regular, like, it's typical thing. And so you're sitting there, you're watching it, and you're like,
I always love when he's on the phone with his wife, and he's like
flipping the fuck out.
he's like, I love you, baby.
Yeah.
And
they're like, ooh,
they're like, oh, come on, you pussy, like
yeah, you fucking little bitch. You want to kiss her goodnight, like, kind of a deal. You're like, shut up.
But I do like the character. I think he does bring that like down to earth, like, yo, we can't be doing this shit. Like, come on,
like, I got family here. I can't be doing this. Yeah, and like, now Frenchie,
and then you just have like Butcher going, oh yeah, pussy cunt, like, let's go.
no, right, and then like Frenchie though, he is just, it's like he's a mix of like, he likes art. He's like a very, like, he's an artist of his craft and his skills. Like, so he's just an ingenious inventor. Really, you know, like he does like chemistry, like munitions. Like, I mean, he's kind of like the crew's like scientist in a sense. He does some weird ass shit.
Kind of like just a lover, kind of like he just loves to do stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
But he's like an artist in a sense of like what he does. And so like they recruited him. You know, and again,
I think he was always kind of a member. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like,
well, yeah, but
when you first meet him, like, it looked like Frenchie, Mother's Milk, and Butcher kind of were like a 3-pair,
right? Like a trio in a sense.
Team,
but like, it's just for him though. I mean, it was like, you know, you got an American, or I guess 2 guys that were American, and like the guy who literally is French. You know, like, again, the name Frenchie here, but you know, again, Corhiston joining the group to protect his criminal friends and Assange, his own guilt. He seeks redemption for his past crimes by fighting against Vought, which he does. And then, you know, he actually, like I said, when he had that brilliant idea to shove that fucking, you know, detonator up the guy's ass, you're just like, oh shit, all right, he's pretty diabolical in his own way. You know, and then the next one, the female, or, you know, Kimika Miyashiro, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Kimiko. I mean, I don't know if they really mentioned like the last name in the whole show, but
yeah,
Kimiko, she's like a mute member of the boys. She has super strength, regenerative healing, so she is a soup. She was involuntarily injected with compound V as a part of a scheme to create soup terrorists by Vought International. The boys basically, there's a whole couple, you know, a couple episodes where they're trying to find her and after freeing her. And, you know, they end up, you know, working through some. She's vicious in that very early when they first free her.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she is vicious. But you know, she eventually like becomes part of the team, and she's, you know, she does some sign language. I think in the 4th season, I think she does end up talking a little bit towards the end, but yeah, she's more of a mute member. But yeah, she's very, very vicious. But she's one of the, you know, one of the newer characters that was in the first season, and you kind of meet her. Starlight, she was one of the 7 for one of the longer times.
Well, she was. Well, I mean, technically, hold on. She was the newest member of the 7,
and she was going back and forth for a while, but like she was one of the 7, but one of the few heroes that still was like, she valued protecting society. She always kind of questioned the loyalty to the 7, but then, you know, after learning what the 7's character really was, that's when she really joined in helping the boys kind of take down.
Well, because if I'm not mistaken, I think Huey, like, originally, so the way this works is like, you know, Huey actually like seduces her originally, because like the whole point is Butcher's
well,
like,
they just started dating.
Well, no, but right.
I mean, it was kind of a
random. No, hold on, it was random because in the sense of like what she was looking at, so she didn't know that he was a part of the boys, because I know it was kind of like, oh, this is our way in. Like, if we could find ways to get into the 7 and try to, you know, sabotage within. That was what he was doing originally, and then of course that turned into a relationship and became something.
I mean, it was kind of indirect. I mean, it was direct but indirect, because it was really Butcher,
Well, he had his own two hands in that, but yeah.
I mean, it was Butcher hacking the phone so that they could listen.
Right.
I mean, yes, he was part of it, but it wasn't like Huey was like, "Oh yeah, I will totally spy on her on a date so that we can go." No,
I mean,
I think he was really interested in Annie and dating her, and
originally yes, and then of course Butcher was like, "Oh, I'm going to use this to my advantage." And
yeah,
take
but I don't
control.
think. I mean, even still, I don't think Huey was still like, "Yeah, we'll totally take advantage of her while I go on a date with her." No, I think he was still very much like, "I'm going to keep seeing her," and I think Butcher just being Butcher just was like, you shouldn't be dating a soup. And which is why, I mean, there's a scene in the park where he just shoots her with a freaking sniper rifle. And he's like, what the hell are you doing?
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But like, she is one of like the newer people that joined the Seven, but like you can tell just based on, her character that she does not belong. Like she just does not belong with this group. She's very sincere, very innocent. Most of the other characters, like you meet the Deep, you meet 8 Train, Homelander, they're all pieces of shit. And she's one of the, not calling a pun here, but like the bright lights in the Seven.
Well, I mean, she and Maeve have really kind of hit it off.
Well, even Maeve, like very early on, was still a piece of shit.
Oh no, but I understand. But like those two, kind of like they work together in some ways. I'm pretty sure, like if I'm not mistaken, they both kind of like commingled a little bit more than like she did with like Homelander or somebody like that. But like she was when you look at the name Starlight, it's like that shining bright in the sky. Like, hey, there's hope yet. But like at the same time, it's like now you're going against Homelander, who literally, I mean, she's got similar powers with that besides the heat vision, but like. It's tough, man, because like she's one strong woman. Because I remember there was one scene that she was like, making out with Huey over here, and it kind of gets a little bit more in depth and stuff like that, and you're just like, okay, I see where you're going now. It's like,
well, yeah, I mean, it is energy manipulation, but it's more based on like it's based on light. So I mean, yeah. I don't think, I mean, if she went up against Homelander, like she would not win.
No. Not a fucking chance in hell.
So yeah, Soldier Boy is the last one. He's kind of the original premier superhero, the leader of Payback, which is kind of another group that you meet a little bit later on. He possesses superhuman strength and it has the ability to generate radiation.
Oh, lovely.
Thought to have been killed during the Cold War, he was secretly betrayed by his team and captured by the Soviets in order for Vought to replace him with Homelander, his biological son.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which he doesn't find out until a little bit later. And
biological son.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. And, we meet Soldier Boy later on.
I'm not gonna lie, that just, fuck, man, I had no idea. I know, like, he was a new character in season 4, but I didn't realize that was his pops.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for ruining it, bitch. No.
Hey.
He's like, yeah, whatever.
It's been out for a while now, so if you ever
yeah.
watch it, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself, just like what we always say.
Oh, you can't go fuck yourself.
There you go. Okay, now if you want to cancel Matt, it's Matt, right? It's like, here's his address. Here, no, I'm joking. No, that's not really.
You want to cancel me, it's Captain Listache.
Oh, yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. Actually, it's Mr. Grumpy Beard at gofuckyourself.com. No. Anyways, no. So, looking at the boys, though, real quick, because I know we're going to try to, wrap this up here, but like, it's one of those shows that, yes, you do have to ask yourself some questions. You do have to think to yourself, is it going to be worth my time to do this right now? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm like, if you're home alone, it's pitch black. There's literally no one here. You're by yourself, and you don't have any significant others, or you're literally single. Oh yeah, that's perfect. This is a perfect show for you. And I mean, if you like fucked up shit, then this is a really great show for you. I mean, if you want some really, interesting drama, bullshit, I mean, literally everything under the sun, and the things that, the boundaries they push and the limits and everything else, like, this is a show for you. Because if you want to see it, then you go ahead and see it.
If I'm being honest, like if you want to see a realistic portrayal of what superheroes would honestly, seriously look like in today's society,
Well, especially now, yeah.
this is the show. But it's one of those shows like you are gonna watch it and then it's gonna stick with you.
Oh yeah.
And then later on, you're gonna be like, I kind of want to watch that again.
And then you think to yourself, is it worth it?
And then you watch it again and you go, I kind of need to take a shower.
I kind of need to make sure that there's no dicks grabbing me around the neck or anything. I don't really need to open a door and there's a bunch of semen flying my way. Let's see. I don't need to see an exploding dick. I mean, I could go on. I don't need to see a flying dolphin come through the. I could just keep naming scenes here. Or I don't need to see Homelander, sucking some woman's titty and be like, oh yeah, oh. It's just like it's the weirdest shit on the planet, and you're just like, is this really the case? And you're like, yep, this is really the case. I said so. When I will say,
when you see Homelander and he's giving a speech and he just gets tired of the fucking people cheering him. They're literally cheering him, and he's like, you know what? You guys can just go fuck yourselves. And he literally lasers half of the fucking people cheering him.
Right. And this had I think it was like season 3. I think that's where it was.
And he's like, you know what, guys? Go fuck yourselves. And he's like,
and we were just like, what the fuck is going on?
He's like, holy shit! Like you just fucking
annihilated
half of the people that are in that came to see you.
No, I mean, man, I'm telling you, I mean, you don't see this kind of television. It's funny, we live in a woke culture, right? This cancel shit.
No, we live in the Marvel DC world where Superman's like putting his hands on his hips and he's like, yeah, I just saved the day, and everybody's like, yay,
yay, and then you see Homelander do the same thing, yay, and then all of a sudden, woo, and you're like, whoa, I guess they're fucking dead.
Yeah, they don't have bodies or legs or heads or, and it's just it's like blood and guts and bodies, and you're like,
you're just like, well,
fuck
it, I guess.
you guys shouldn't have been stupid fucking meatbags and.
It stopped cheering him on. You should have booed him. Maybe he'd have the same reaction. Who knows? No, I mean, I'm just telling you. If you question yourself and you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna watch this." Okay, well then, what are the questions, Matt? What are the 2 questions you got to ask yourself before watching this show?
Well, I mean, 1 is, am I alone?
Right.
2, am I going to get in trouble by watching the show?
And actually, hold on. 3rd. Do I have to start answering questions if I'm watching a particular scene and somebody watches me watch this?
The question you shouldn't ask yourself is, do I have a towel?
Yeah.
If you have to ask yourself that, then you probably shouldn't watch the show then.
At that point, I'd be like, what kind of shit are you into?
Don't forget to bring a towel.
Don't worry.
Unless you're thinking about taking a shower afterwards,
well,
then you need a towel.
Yeah, because you probably stink.
You don't need a towel during.
No.
If you need a towel during, then
we got a serious issue here.
You have more serious issues. You need therapy.
You need a lot of things, pal. And actually, real quick, I know it's like Men's Mental Health Month and stuff like that. Since we've talked about this before, but seriously, if you need help, check yourself into something, because this, especially in a show like this, you need to make sure that is the case. But anyways, we've been talking a lot about this. It's crazy for us to, be able to keep doing this. I mean, shit, Matt just mentioned to me, this is, we've done 116. This is now going to be 117. It's crazy to me that we've been doing this for so fucking long. I mean, I still remember when Matt asked me and I said, nah, man, you sure you want to do this? He's like, yeah, let's fucking do it. And, and here we are, almost, not quite 3 years, I'd say almost 2.5 years later, and we're fucking still killing it. We're still doing this shit. We're trying to grow. It's just crazy, man. You don't think about it and you do it for so long. And then now, down the road, if people are like, man, do you have any tips? Do you have any things? And I'm like, just be your fucking self, man. Don't just fucking, keep being consistent, keep doing your shit, because at the end of the day,
be yourself and keep pressing on and keep doing it.
Who cares about the haters, man? Because at the end of the day, it's really about you and your buddy if you do it. I mean, if you do it solo, I give you credit, man. I really do. Whether you're a woman, male, whatever the hell you want to be called. You do you. I'm telling you, it's hard as shit. As one of the guys I was trying to reach out to, he does it by himself. And I'm like, dude, more power to you, man. I even told him that. I'm like, you know, doing this by yourself is a bitch. Like it's
It
not,
always feels better when you're doing it with somebody else.
he's like, woo, woo. You know? No, but it's true. I mean, like when you're talking with somebody else, at least you're getting something.
Oh, talking. That,
you're talking.
Oh,
You meant-
talking.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
that's what we're talking about. Okay.
I think you meant with an octopus.
Whoa, whoa, hey.
Hey, you know, no, but anyways, guys, no, we appreciate you. You know, check us out. You know where to follow us. But until next time.
Stay geeky, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.